Hi and welcome to IBPS English. We are in our penultimate class of IBPS Basic English. Okay, so let's start with our class today. And today our class is going to focus on sentence correction basics. So goals for today's class, sentence correction basics. We would be learning what goes into, making a sentence correction exercise simple enough. It is one of the most simplest exercises ever, to be very frank, and you can, score a very good sectional cutoff with English if you learn the grammar basics perfectly. All right, so sentence correction, it requires very minimal effort. Just learn the grammar rules, you'll be all set for your sentence correction. Okay, so we'll start with the previous session's CPP question and where most of you went wrong. Now look at this. This is question number 3. The table listing industrial dash since 2000 is most instructive as far as strikes are concerned. So we are looking for a noun, that much is very evident. Okay, so the table listing industrial dash. Sorry, just a minute. Okay, so the entire passage is about, look at this, explain why Indian manufacturing has experienced industrial, social, and political something in recent years. And then they say strikes, correct? So we are looking for something that is slightly negative. Okay, the table listing industrial dash since 2000. So I'm looking at something that means negative events because there is a timeline that is mentioned and something to do with the industry. Strife, semblance, development. Okay, all of the above, none of the above. It is definitely not development because it is negative and development has a very positive connotation. Semblance is neutral. Semblance means resemblance. It looks like that. Okay, so this has absolutely no connection to what we are discussing. So it has to be strife. I know for a fact that most of you might not know what strife means. Okay, strife means some kind of a negative discord. Okay, so strife is what is the answer here. The answer is A. So we go ahead and discuss our book for the day. Okay, and that is something very recent. I haven't really discussed recent books. If you look at our series, our performance in the past 22 classes. Excuse me, sorry. Excuse me. Yeah. So today we will be discussing Paula Hawkins, The Girl on the Train. Okay. So it is about a woman in her early 30s who goes on a train every day and it is her everyday routine where she sees a family, gives them her own names. She focuses on that particular family from her train every single day. So it is this obsession that gives rise to the entire book. Okay, it is a murder mystery of sorts, so check it out. It's brilliant, actually. Writing a murder mystery in times of the digital world is actually pretty complex, right? So it's not exactly the times of Jack the Ripper where there was no DNA testing, and it's definitely not Sherlock Holmes. Okay, so nothing is elementary today. Everything is extremely complicated. So is murder mystery writing. But this particular book deals about a recently divorced woman. She's obese. She has body image issues. So there is a psychological what do you call mulling inside of her head, and then she obsesses over a family she sees every day when she's on her train to work and then back from work. So this is the plot. Okay, so it's brilliant. So do give it a shot. And it's not just a book. There is also a TV series of the same name, made, of course, from the same, you know, story. So check it out as well. So we come to sentence correction and what goes into sentence correction. Now, as I told you earlier, if you study the grammar basics, sentence correction is going to be extremely simple. Okay, so if you study all the grammar rules that have already been provided to you, uh, it is very hard to not score in your sentence correction examination. Okay, so let's have a very quick refresher of sorts with basic grammar rules that we've already studied. Okay, so remember that this is not the class involving these grammar rules. So before you actually, attempt your sentence correction exercise, I would also require you to go back to our grammar classes. Okay, the very first series, that was all grammar. So you can probably look at that and then look at this refresher course as well. For all of you who are already aware of grammar rules, pretty sure about it, pretty sure about them, then go ahead, just listen to the refresher. Okay, so what is parallelism? Quick example. So today we'll be dealing only about examples because it's a quick refresher and it's very easy to explain something with examples. I like to swim and to dance. To swim, to dance, both are in infinitive. What have I done? I have two different sentences. I like to swim, full stop. I like to dance. I have clubbed them both with the conjugation and, conjunction and I've put it in one single sentence. Correct? When I do that, when I conjugate, I need to understand that this part and this part will have to be in parallel construction. For example, I like swimming and dancing. Here, swimming and dancing both are in ing format. Okay, so it is either this or this. I cannot say I like to swim and dancing. Got it? Okay, so this is about parallelism. Whatever you construct will have to be in parallel with the respective entities. Okay, uh, it's not just this. For example, the dolphin and the whale are oceanic mammals. Okay, so the dolphin and the whale, I represent the entire species of whales and dolphins. Okay, so I cannot say dolphins and the whale. That is wrong. Okay, so you get it? There has to be a parallelism structure running throughout. So in this case, it is the subject that is parallel. In the previous case, we were looking at the predicate. Then there is comparison. Comparison, I would say, is an offshoot of your parallelism structure. Okay. Now, when you compare, remember, you cannot compare apples and oranges. Okay. Now, let's look at this. My mother has a blue bag like mine. Then there is my mother has a blue bag like me. Which of these is right? Here, me, and then I have mine. Okay, now look at this. My mother is like me. In the previous case, in this case, I compare my mother with my own self. So, person, my mother, me, another person, I compare. Now, look at this. My mother has a blue bag like mine. Okay, what am I comparing here? A blue bag that belongs to my mother, and then there is mine. Bag. Okay, so meaning, when you look at the meanings, it's very different in either sentence, but both are correct. Okay, so here the comparison is between me and my mother. In this case, the comparison is between my mother's blue bag and mine. Both are right. What is wrong? We look at a wrong example as well. My mother's car is blue. Okay. And then I say, I have a blue car too. How would, see, these are different sentences altogether. Okay, they are right, of course. How do I put this in one single sentence? My mother's car, like me, okay, is blue. In this case, the comparison is between my mother's car, an object, and me, a person. This is wrong. Okay, so you need to compare only apples and apples, oranges and oranges, never apples and oranges. Okay, so the entities that you compare will have to be similar. That is about comparison. Then there is subject verb agreement. Now remember that the verb is the most important part of your sentence. Without the verb, there is no sentence. And I've said that probably a million times in these classes alone. Okay, bear with me, but that's how important it is to know that the verb is the most important part of your sentence. Okay, so you cannot construct a sentence without a verb. If you do, it's entirely wrong. Now, every time you use a verb, it has to be in, be in tandem with the subject. The subject decides the verb. Okay, if you have a plural subject, for example, we like movies. Here, we is a plural subject. Okay, so like, this is the verb to be used. And then I can say, Anu likes movies. In this case, Anu is singular. It's one single person. Okay, so the verb structure differs. Likes and like. Okay, so remember this. This is the most basic subject verb agreement rule. Singular versus plural. Okay, for, everything else that you derive from that is an offshoot. Okay, so let's look at something like this. The team of players meet at the tavern regularly. Okay, now remember, the team of players is singular. Okay, can you have meet? If this is singular, this has to be meets. Okay, so it is the team of players, even though players is plural, but the entire subject on the whole is singular. Okay, so a bunch of keys is singular, even though keys, that is plural, a bunch of keys, that's going to be singular. Similarly, the team of players, singular, meets at the tavern regularly, not meet at the tavern regularly. Got it? This is a mistake that quite a few of us make on a very regular basis. Then there are idioms and phrases. Now remember that it is very easy to learn the first three. Okay, now idioms and phrases are some things that are, abundant in the English language. It makes no sense actually. Okay, so it is not very obvious. For example, the teacher gave a test on something that was very unrelated to the syllabus. She thus turned the tables. Okay. When you say she turned the tables on the students, it's not that she, literally takes a table and puts it upside down, around the students, on the students. No, that's not the case. Okay. So this is a phrase that means she did something very surprising. Okay. The people there did not expect her to do this. She turned the tables. So she, made fools out of the students. Okay. So that is the import of that context, right? Now, the English language has a lot of such idioms and phrases that do not make literal sense. Okay, for example, I ran from pillar to post, looking for a post office in that particular pin code. Okay, so it's not that I find a pillar and I run from that particular pillar to another post. I just mention that I am running around like crazy, in some urgency, trying to get something done. Okay, so that is what I mean when I say I ran from pillar to post. Okay, now if you look at all of this, it would probably have some, a medieval English connotation. Okay, so it's just that we don't take the literal sense. Okay, it is incorporated in the English language today. It means something very certain. Okay, let's look at other examples. To Google. How many of you know that Google actually represents a number? It's 10 power something. I don't know. The X here is some very big number. Okay, so this is the meaning, the actual meaning of Google. Today, when you Google something, Google for something, it means that you go online and search for it. Correct? So someone coming here from the medieval times would probably not understand this at all. Okay, so that is about idioms. Now, phrases. Now let's look at some adverbial phrases or verb phrases that are always used in that particular fashion alone, and they have a meaning. Now, let's look at this. Catch up. Hey, let's catch up over a cup of coffee sometime. We say that often, right? What does it mean? It has nothing to do with the physical catch. Okay? But when you say catch up, and then there is caught up, okay, that's the past tense of it. Okay, now I can say, hey, you know what, I met Nivedita very recently. We caught up over a cup of coffee. Okay, so it has nothing to do with the physical catch. It is just that two people are hanging out and they are, briefing each other on what goes on in their lives. That is catch up. Okay, and remember, this catch up is always used with this particular preposition. Okay, it means something. Catching up means briefing each other on each other's progress, only if I use it in this particular fashion. Okay, you cannot say stuff like catch on and think that you've meant to say catch up. Okay, so that is about idioms and phrases. This, I agree, is slightly tough if you do not, if you aren't familiar with the idioms and phrases that are used. So read a lot. That should take care of brushing up with your idioms and phrases. Okay, so now we go to previous contest question. I wore my best dress and he dashed me. What is the context here? He appreciated me, correct? Now, remember that compliment comes from complete. Now, all of you are studying IBPS. You would also know what complementary angles are. Okay, one that completes the other. correct? If I remember right, and I haven't studied math in a really long time, so are A and B complementary to each other? Okay, so they complete each other and form 180 degree in the on the whole, correct? Okay, so complementary comes from the term complete. Okay, so is he completing me? Okay, now it does sound very romantic when I don't know, was it Sleepless in Seattle where the protagonist said, "You complete me." I don't know, I don't remember. Nevertheless, okay, so he complimented me. That is the right term here. This compliment means appreciate. Okay, so shoe and socks. You go to Amazon and then you order a pair of shoes. You have a recommended section run by data science, artificial intelligence algorithms, and then it says, hey, you know what? A good complimentary buy here it is COMPLE. Okay, a good complementary purchase would be a pair of socks because shoe and socks they go hand in hand, they complete each other. Okay, so that is complete complementary. This compliment is, hey, I wore my best dress and then he complimented me. Okay, he appreciated me. Got it? So from this moment onwards, I hope that you have absolutely no confusion between compliment as in appreciate and compliment as in complete. Got it? So we go to contest time. Good luck with today's contest question. And Naveen Hosamani, hey, sorry, I just realized that we have an audience from Naveen Hosamani and Abhinaya. Okay, hi Naveen, hi Abhinaya, how are you? It's a wonderful Saturday morning. Tell us about yourselves. So, how have you been preparing for IBPS? And Naveen and Abhinaya, please try to answer the contest question. Okay. So now let's go to our questions. Okay. So we have only been learning about the grammar basics for a while now. Let's go to the questions. Okay. Now look at this. Today, by the way, in this particular class we will be focusing on starting lines and connecting phrases. Okay. Now look at this. Despite of repeated requests from other residents, comma, my neighbors refused to bring down the volume. Okay. And one day he opened his door to find cops. Now the S here should not be there. It's a typo. I'm sorry. Okay. Now despite of repeated requests. Now remember that in a sentence correction question, you have one part that is underlined, and that part, if it is wrong, it has to be removed, replaced with something from these options to make the sentence correct. It has to be contextually, meaningfully correct. It has to be grammatically correct. Okay. So remember to check for meaning, to also check for grammar. Okay. Both are equally important. Even if the grammar part that is right is not sounding, even if that is right, if it is not meaning the same thing, that is the intention of the entire sentence, you're wrong. Remember that. Okay. Now, so how do you go about with your sentence correction question? Now look at this. Despite of repeated requests from other residents, comma, my neighbors refused to bring down the volume and he met the cops. Okay. So there are two entities to this phrase. One is there were repeated requests. Okay. And then he did not listen. He faced the music. Okay. And then face the music, because we graduated to this question from our idioms and phrases list. What do you mean when you say someone faced the music? or he got his just desserts. It means that he pays for his criminal activities. Okay, or he just, yeah, he faced the music, as in he did something wrong and he faced the music. When you say, okay, for example, the people of India have been waiting for Nirav Modi to come to India, where he will indeed face the music. Okay, or he will be served just desserts. Got it? Now look at this, despite of. Now, even before I look into the options, I know that despite of is wrong. It is only despite. Despite repeated requests. Now, whatever follows, whatever is not underlined, I cannot change it, remember, from other residents. In spite should have an of, so that is wrong. Okay, despite repeated requests is definitely correct. It is a contender. Okay, you mean to say that there were requests from fellow residents, but he never listened. Okay, now look at this. Even though the neighbors gave repeated requests from other residents, now you are repeating. Okay, so there is an element of repetition that does not make sense. Okay, you have, even if it had been, even though the neighbors gave repeated requests, and then this part is not there, then it makes sense. Okay, so because of the repetition factor, this is wrong. There were many repeated requests from other residents, comma, my neighbors refused to bring down the volume, and one fine day he opened his door to find corpse. Now, it might sound right to you, but it is wrong. Why is it wrong? Remember that you cannot conjugate two complete sentences with a comma in between. For example, I'll give you something very simple. I like cars. I bought a car. Okay, now this looks right to you. If it does, go undo your learning. Okay, unlearn whatever you've learned, learn again, learn afresh, learn right. Okay, now I like cars, I bought a car. Yes, they are related, but they aren't phrases, they are two complete sentences all by themselves. You cannot conjugate them with a comma in between, but you can put this right by making this comma a semicolon. Okay, ma'am, the PPT is a little blurred, says Abhinaya. Abhinaya, we'll just take care of it at our end. Sir, I guess there is a problem with the PPT, it's blurring. Okay, so I've just let people know. I hope there isn't a problem now. Okay, so good job, Abhinaya. Abhinaya, can you just, try answering this question? Abhinaya and Naveen. All right. So, I cannot have two complete sentences, conjugate them with a comma and call it one new sentence. This is, okay, this is right because I've changed it to a semicolon. Had it been a comma, it's wrong. Got it? Any problem there? So for this particular reason, this is wrong. And there is one more reason as well. Okay, there is a contrast element that is intended here that is not brought about by this particular rephrasing. Okay, so this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And definitely an improvement is required because despite of is wrong. So I go with B. B is the answer to this question. Any problem? Abhinaya? Naveen? Now look at this. Today, neither the board nor the union support the cause of equal pay for women employees. Okay. Now, remember that this is the verb. Okay. What is the subject here? Neither the board nor the union. So, your subject is not just one single entity. It is neither the board nor the union. Is it support? Is it supports? Then there is a today factor, the tense. Okay, so this represents your tense factor. Look at the options. Supports, board or the union. Is that a singular verb subject? Is that a plural subject? Now remember, board, union in this particular case are singular. Okay, what does it mean? Board of directors, union of employees. Okay, now directors and employees might be plural, but when you look at them as the collective noun, that is singular. And when you have a singular subject, is it going to be support or supports? Now let's look at the options. Now supports, yes, it is right, because even if you have neither, board, union are singular. So the verb has to be supports. So A sounds right, correct? As of now, it's a contender. Let's look at the other options as well. Will find support. Today, neither the board nor the union will find support the cause. Okay, if you have a for here, then it makes sense. Will find support for the cause. Okay, but there is no for, so this is eliminated. Has supported. Today is singular. Okay, so this is eliminated. This is over in the past. Have supported, again it is over in the past. Okay, no improvement. No, it needs an improvement, and that is supports. So the correct answer here is A. Okay, now let's look at neither nor, either or, and the subject verb agreement that is appropriate for this. When you have neither Anu nor the boys, and then there is a verb, I leave it as such, the answer. Is it no or knows? Anu is singular, but the boys, that is plural. Now remember, whenever this confusion arises where the subject has two parts, okay, and the two parts are put together with neither or either. Remember that the part of the subject that is closest to the verb, that is what will dictate the verb form. Boys, this is plural. Okay, so it has to be no. The boys know the answer. Got it? It is not knows, it is no. Any problem? So we've done subject verb agreement. We've done a phrase. Okay, this is also a starting sentence connector. All right. So we summarize with this. We've done sentence correction. We've looked into grammar basics that deal with, that form the basis for such questions. Now remember, if you do not study the grammar basics, you cannot graduate to doing sentence correction questions. So unless you have a fine basis, you cannot go here. So I would suggest that you go, if you find it tough, go back to our grammar classes, study that, then come to sentence correction questions. Okay, so unless you have a basis, it's just not gonna happen. So within grammar basics, we did 4 rules if I remember right. One was subject verb agreement, 2 was comparison, and then we did parallelism. Okay, then we did idioms and phrases. Right? Now there are quite a few other grammar rules that would be required. For example, misplaced modifiers, misplaced or dangling modifiers. Okay, I'll give you one example for misplaced and dangling modifiers. I had samosa. and a cup of juice at the party, and then I say which were spoiled. Now remember that the modifier here refers to the food. Okay, now this which were spoiled actually refers to the samosa and juice. Okay, and these were the things that were spoiled, but I put at the party here, okay, and then I say which was spoiled. Now, whenever you look at phrases that refer to location or time, okay, I went to the party at 5, okay, so remember these are spatial or temporal representatives, okay. Temporal is to do with time, spatial that is to do with your space, your location, okay. Now, it is very common to see that we talk about something and then we bring in a spatial or a temporal connector, okay. You can also call these modifiers, by the way, and then you append the modifier. That's not how it works. The modifier has to be very close to what it modifies. Okay, so this is another rule that you should be learning. All right, so that's it about your SC. Now, thank you for joining us. We come to our CPP time. The CPP, or the class practice pack, is a set of 10 expertly curated questions that are done with extreme focus on making you learn what you have, gone through today in class. So, whatever concepts that you've studied in class today, that is what you will be seeing in your CPP. It's just today, for example, today it is a set of 10 questions on sentence correction. Okay, now the CPP is a document that is available only to passport users. So passport users, please go ahead, do your CPP on sentence correction today. You're extremely we would be extremely grateful if you can also share it with your friends who are preparing for IBPS, and share the word on it. Okay, so thanks for joining us. We have another class on sentence correction, right after this class. So do join us there as well. Stay. Okay. So Abhinaya and Naveen, thanks for your participation. Good morning indeed. Bye.